Greyman is supported by Patreon. Donate now and receive special early access. Hello, hello, hello. I am the Greyman, and welcome back to Mega Man 5. Let's do Gyro Man. That's actually a really fun stage. And in case you didn't watch the last episode, I am doing a Buster-only run right here to kind of demonstrate how useless they made the sub-weapons. But I was being very complimentary to the level design, and the level design is really good. I mean, just look around at this environment. Like, this is incredibly well made. Just standing on top of these, you know, gorgeous corkscrews in the sky. And one thing I didn't really talk about in the last episode, because I didn't really include the cold open, is that the conflict around this game is that it looks like that Proto Man is leading the Robot Masters in this game. And then, oh, big shock, it turns out it's Dr. Wily. That's also another thing where I can see why people complain that this game had no innovation. Because it basically repeated a plot point from Mega Man 4, where it looked like Dr. Cossack was the villain. And it turns out Wily was doing it again. And now they're kind of just doing the same thing. But if we're just kind of going by... this is kind of getting deeper into Mega Man lore. But they're like, oh no, Proto Man's turned evil. I'm like, as far as the games were concerned, had we ever really confirmed that Proto Man was actually good? Like, you know, we had some hints of moral complexity in, you know, in Mega Man 3 when he was introduced, certainly. But he only had a brief cameo in Mega Man 4. Oh, this guy's fucking me up. I shouldn't have mocked him in the last video. There we go. So basically, you know, Proto Man's turned evil. It's like, was he ever good? I have no idea. They made Proto Man a villain in the cartoon, I think just because they needed, like, some kind of rival character for Mega Man, and they hadn't introduced Bass yet, who came along in Mega Man 7. So they're like, he'll do. And by the way, I've talked up Scott McNeil's Dr. Wily voice, and he also voiced Proto Man. So he voiced both of the primary antagonists in the cartoon, because if you hire Scott McNeil for any production, like, he just has to voice everybody, I guess. And it's just kind of... So you get kind of inconsistent portrayals of Proto Man is kind of what I'm getting at. Oh, fuck. It seems just like his primary thing across all Mega Man media is that he's mysterious. That's it. And that can only kind of go so far. It's kind of like the Boba Fett rule. It's just like, oh man, Boba Fett is so cool. Well, why do you like him? Because he's cool. You know, like, you don't actually know anything about him as a character. He's just kind of there and looks awesome. I was seriously of that, damn rewind thing. I was kind of that generation of Star Wars fans. Because my older brother, like, he was, like, the perfect, you know, Gen X age in order to get into Star Wars, and so he absorbed a lot of, the expanded universe and a lot of the characters that got really popular kind of around that time, and so I've just spent most of my life just hearing worship. I still have some lives, good. Just hearing worship for Boba Fett. And I just I never really questioned it, but at the same time, I never got into it to the extent that other people did. It was just kind of, yeah, I guess. And so say what you will about the Star Wars prequels, like, a lot of people didn't like the origin story of Boba Fett, and I do confess it is kind of, like, underwhelming. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I think part of you were just kind of upset that, like, you know anything about Boba Fett. It was kind of arguably better that you didn't know, because your imagination takes over at that point, and you imagine just kind of all the awesome things that, you know, that you would do as Boba Fett, or something like that. And really, I think that's kind of been one of the biggest appeals of Star Wars, but at the same time also kind of one of its biggest weaknesses, is that it gives you just enough where you can infer, like, what George Lucas or the filmmakers wanted, but it's loose enough where either you as a fan or the expanded universe writers can just kind of, like, put your own ideas on top of it. It's kind of like a very litmus test Rorschach kind of thing. And I think we're seeing a lot of that now, post-Disney buyout. We're kind of seeing how fans, like, kind of related to Star Wars before that. And now we're seeing how this new generation of Star Wars fans is kind of reacting. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna be one of those people who's just gonna be bitching about The Last Jedi on YouTube. It's just, I am just so completely tired of all of that bullshit. Like, I swear, you go on YouTube nowadays, and it's just like, it's nothing but videos where it's like, The Last Jedi is the worst movie ever, and I'm going to tell you why in this 45-minute video. It's just, I hate it. I just look at that stuff, and I'm like, God, didn't Star Wars used to be fun? And yet, meanwhile, I say that, and I was in high school when Attack of the Clones came out, and I just remember going with my high school girlfriend and on a date, like, and we sat in the back row, and we're just like we're cringe laughing at the terrible romance between Anakin and Padme. Just you take any one of those lines, and it is just like the worst thing ever. Like, and as a little kid, you know, like, you already are kind of just, like, icked out by, you know, movie romance, because you're like, ew, kissing, gross. But then you become an adult, and you start hating it for a completely different reason. You're like, as a kid, I just hated it because I didn't want to get cooties, but now I'm just kind of like, this is poorly written and cringy, I just don't want to watch this. In fact, I remember, a couple years later when Revenge of the Sith came out, and it has that scene between Anakin and Padme, and just, he's looking at her as they're getting ready for bed, and it's like, "You are so beautiful," and she goes, "Only because I am so loved." And just, you could just hear just like a collective groan in the theater over how terrible that dialogue was. That is one thing I will, that is one Last Jedi thing I will share. Like, I was walking out of the theater, like, after the movie was over, and the credits were rolling. I stayed long enough for the Carrie Fisher tribute. Carrie Fisher, love you, R.I.P. And I just hear some guy in front of me just go like, whatever, the prequels were much better. And I didn't say anything to him because I didn't know this guy. But I just look at him and I go like, I know that's your opinion, but your opinion is wrong. Like, that is just objectively wrong. If there's anybody out there who is saying that the prequels are better than the Disney films, you are incorrect. That is the one hill I will die on. If you don't like the Disney films, fine. If you have problems with them, that's your thing. But do not say that the prequels were better. That is just a certifiable falsehood. That seems to be just a cottage industry on... No matter which Star Wars film it is, you know, even the classic ones. That's just a cottage industry, is just bitching about Star Wars on YouTube. Build the careers of Red Letter Media. Gotta say that. Who the guys of whom I've actually met. I got to meet Mike, who's actually the actor who plays Mr. Plinkett, and it was at the Chicago Comic-Con like years and years and years ago. But it was before I moved out to the Northwest. But I did get him to say, "Creeper Notebook," into my phone, like, because I just love the way he says that, you know. "I keep it here in my creepy notebook. Here we are in my basement again. I got a napalm bomb.
I put together some chemicals and I made napalm. I usually use it for hydrochloric acid, but I decided to diversify. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Email me on the web zone if you want a pizza roll.